Welcome back. You are listening to another episode of the Keep the Change podcast, and we've got the man who is very hard to track down back in the studio, sitting across from me. As always, good to see you, mate. Adam Stewart from Compound Wealth. How are you?
Good, thank you, Lukey. Very well. Good to be up in the big smoke, Auckland. And I just turned 30 yesterday, so
wow,
I'm into the next decade of my life. So
happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Any nerves turning 30?
Not so much, just a bit of reminiscing yesterday, kind of thinking, what the hell I was up to when I was in my early 20s going, and obviously a lot can change in 10 years. So kind of just did a lot of reminiscing yesterday, actually going, your life can change like a decade. It seems like a long time, but you can pack a lot into 10 years.
You can. Yeah, for sure. And I think I remember reading ages ago that two things that men specifically really worry about is getting old and then losing their hair or going bald. Yeah, but no signs of that for you at this stage,
mate. I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But keep an eye on those two things.
100%.
Yeah. Anyway, tell us quickly about Compound Wealth, because you live and breathe the KiwiSaver space. The audience has heard from you before, but there's a lot of new listeners at the moment, and some of them may not have. So how do you sort of differentiate and differ from some of the KiwiSaver funds and the other people that people will be more familiar with in the KiwiSaver space, because they get heaps of TV time when they don't call the boy from the south on there?
No, great question. So you look, I started Compound Wealth over 6 years ago when I was 24. Obviously, just found out that I'm 30. So
you just found out
very, pretty young age, I guess, to start a financial advisory business. But I literally worked in the KiwiSaver space for a number of years whilst at university, and then worked for a fund manager straight out of university. And I literally just saw the opportunity for KiwiSaver, because of just every person I talk to, and that could be, someone just walking down the street, a plumber or electrician, or even CEOs or, high-level accountants, really didn't have a good grasp of KiwiSaver. So just saw an opportunity there to start a business, and that's morphed into not just a KiwiSaver advisory business, but we do life and health insurance and lump sum investment advice as well. But I guess the way that we differentiate ourselves is we try and make our KiwiSaver advice as comprehensive, but I guess easy to understand, and it's all digital, so you can complete our quiz, and effectively we provide you a comprehensive KiwiSaver report that includes performance comparisons, asset allocation breakdowns, fee and charge comparisons, and just go, hey, look, this is your existing scheme. This is what we think will be the most appropriate fund for you, and we just make it nice and easy for people so that they can effectively just read through that report and do it on their couch if they like, but it is highly personalized. So and that's taken obviously years to fine tune, but I guess that's I've been working in the KiwiSaver space for a long time. I've done a lot of reading. I'm always visiting fund managers and seeing what they're up to. It's what I kind of wake up to in the morning and, kind of go, right, flick onto Good Returns or Investment News or interest.co.nz, and I'm always kind of looking for a bit of juicy bit of KiwiSaver bait,
Jeez, live and breathe it.
So just live and breathe it. My mates give me a bit of shit because, that's what I used to always talk about too much. I'm not so bad anymore, but yeah, just passionate about it.
Yeah, so as an example, some people may go direct to a fund manager or even a bank and say, can you look after my KiwiSaver? And then they'll say, yeah, of course we can. And they'll place them into one of their different funds or build them out a bit of a split between the different ones. Yep. Whereas you're looking at a person trying to figure out where they are, where they want to get to, what do they value, what do they care about, and then you'll recommend a fund provider and the different funds from that fund provider. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So you're obviously looking at returns because, most people want to maximize their KiwiSaver, and get the best return possible based on, their investment time frame and risk profile. But we do take into account like preference as well. So ethical investment strategies, KiwiSaver providers that provide a high level of customer service, or if someone really wants a mobile app, as a feature with their KiwiSaver provider, then, we'll obviously identify that provider that has, quite a good technical background as well.
Well, we could sit here and talk all day about you, mate, but no one really cares. So,
No, 100%.
well, now that we've got your birthday out of the way and what you do, can you please start showing us the things that we don't know about KiwiSaver? Because I know you get up every morning and the first thing you do is you read more and more about KiwiSaver. So you know a lot of things, and you've taught me some of them that you know about KiwiSaver that people don't. And I think some of those things can even just be insights around how fast it's going to grow and what KiwiSaver is going to look like over time, which I think a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess the key is it's the next decade. KiwiSaver is obviously a natural compounder. There's roughly 95 billion in assets under management across 20 odd KiwiSaver providers now, and that's kind of looking to project to around 260 billion in 10 years. So
wow.
Pretty big number. And another kind of interesting number was currently total net wealth of all, investors. 4% of that is KiwiSaver related. That's going to look to grow to 8% of the average person's total net wealth will be KiwiSaver.
So at the moment, the total net wealth of all Kiwis in the country, less than 5% of it is made up of funds sitting in KiwiSaver.
Okay. And that will grow to 8%. So
that's going to double
in the next 10 years.
In 10 years.
So KiwiSaver as an asset class is, it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. So
you know what else doubles every 10 years, mate?
What?
Property, they reckon. Sorry, it won't in this next 10 years.
It'll be interesting.
That's not financial advice.
Yeah. We probably should put this caveat in there as well, that this isn't financial advice.
It's of a general nature.
It's of a general nature.
The product disclosure from Compound Wealth, visit the website.
Correct.
It's compoundwealth.co.nz.
So, look, some just interesting stats. I just think that KiwiSaver is, going to become more prominent, and we do see now a lot of the investment flows from KiwiSaver providers such as, say, Milford or Booster, actually buying up private land and property, avocado farms, orchards, commercial property. Obviously, Simplicity is starting that residential, or not started, they have started the, residential property.
So instead of them just investing into shares in the share market and stuff, and you kind of read, that just goes offshore into US stocks and whatnot, some of these providers are starting to think, right, what can we be doing here or even abroad?
100%, yeah. And I guess, private equity has that, what's the word? It has a kind of a natural equity premium to it because of that because it's not so liquid, so it has a liquidity premium to it, so it kind of carries a greater risk but a higher level of return. But that's quite good for KiwiSaver investors because most KiwiSaver investors have long investment timeframes. So because the money's locked in your KiwiSaver, you can afford to not have that same level. You don't need liquidity effectively, and that's why KiwiSaver investors should take more risk. Because at the end of the day, if you're 30, 35, you can't touch it till you're 65. And we know shares and property over the long term do outperform, bonds and cash. So if you don't need it, take a long-term approach. Private equity kind of plays into that quite well.
Yeah, I suppose a lot. How long has KiwiSaver been going for? Coming up
16 years, 2007, yeah.
It's still very early, right? So I think a lot of the focus has probably been just trying to get people involved into it and that customer acquisition phase. Whereas that, I'd imagine, is going to change massively. I can just see as more money ends up in the pot, there's going to be more people that want to play with that cash.
100%. It's getting more and more competitive. Like you look at the number of different KiwiSaver providers that have started up over the last 3 years. Probably the first 5-10 years they went, well, there's no point in starting a KiwiSaver business because the average value, of a KiwiSaver balance was say 15,000. Now it's close to 30, 35,000. So it actually becomes more of a decision to go, well, actually this market's maturing a little bit more, so we can go in there and shake things up. So definitely seeing more entrance to the market, and who knows what it'll look like in 5-10 years time. in Australia they've got those annuity products,
Yeah, so
like
what
Challenger.
does that mean? What's an annuity?
So a lot of, obviously KiwiSaver, you want to accumulate, but eventually one day you're going to get to 65 or 70 and stop work, and you're going to go, well, I want to start living and spending this money, and hopefully if all things go well, if you might want to leave some money for your kids, but if you don't, you obviously just want to spend it all, and hopefully one day when you die, you've got zero in your bank account in a perfect world, you know what I mean? So an annuity effectively can provide you an income for life. So a lot of the time, so it's an investment, like an insurance-linked investment product. So it'll just provide you, a guaranteed income. So if you live to 100, but your money ran out at 80, it might keep going until 100. So,
wow.
So it's almost like an insurance.
Yeah.
If you live too long,
You still get it.
you still get it.
But the insurance company starts paying
Correct.
it.
So you pay obviously the management fees, but then you're going to be paying an insurance premium that's linked to that. So the fees would be a little bit higher, but if you're fit and healthy and you want, a certain amount of, guaranteed to your life that you'll never run out of money, then you'd buy a product like that.
Yeah. So that's not happening in New Zealand yet?
Well, there's a product outside of KiwiSaver called Lifetime Retirement, run by a guy called Ralph Stewart. So
Rod Stewart.
Ralph Stewart.
Oh, sorry. I've just been to Vegas recently.
People could definitely go check that out. But I can see maybe KiwiSaver providers, maybe offering something like that once, because it takes a huge amount of capital to probably start something like that. But in 10, 15 years' time, some of these KiwiSaver providers, maybe like ANZ or Milford, the more established players might be able to offer something like that. Because some people might get to 70 and go, well, look, I've got $500,000 in my Kiwi. I might put 300,000 of that, in a say a conservative fund and draw down that over say 10, 15 years. But the other $200,000, they might put that in the annuity, so that'll just lock in say $1,000 a week or whatever the rate of return is, and that'll pay them until they die.
I think that's the exciting thing in your space. It's going to be interesting to watch what happens where these things are going to start coming into play. Because I actually read an article recently, it was kind of scathing of KiwiSaver about how it's very like one-dimensional and it's a shit product in terms of people just putting their money in, and there's no real advice and there's no real flexibility, and you lock it up and you can't get it out. But I kind of look at it and think, unless greed is not on the planet, which I'd imagine won't happen, that people will come along and go, I can create a product around that. So it might be, Luke, you've managed to accumulate $2 million in your KiwiSaver by 60. Well, if you want to unlock some of that, here's a product that we can sell you and provide you, and you're going to pay a fee.
Yep.
But when you get to 65, we're going to get first right to get that back. It's a much like a reverse mortgage in the banking space. And I don't know, maybe they'll regulate so that stuff can't happen, but I would imagine smart people will come into the space and go, well, let's create some different types of products as this piece gets bigger.
Massive. Yeah, well, obviously we've got Sharesies. They're releasing their new kind of KiwiSaver fund structure.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I know nothing about
100%.
it.
So Sharesies are launching a KiwiSaver scheme, but the main point of difference will be that you can effectively have 50% of your KiwiSaver, but you can choose the direct equities. So you could have say 5% of it in Main Freight, or 5% in Fletcher Building, and 5% in Trade Me. So 50% of the portfolio can be in direct stocks or ETFs, and then the other 50% they've got 5 funds that you can use for. I think they're Pi Funds, Pathfinder, and Smart Shares, and you've got to choose say 50% of it in those 5 base funds, and then the other 50% can just be in directs.
Is there any financial advice as part of this, or is people just kind of
this is the buyer beware, is that your KiwiSaver shouldn't be a trading stocks, and you need to take a long-term approach. And it's one of those things when you're buying an investment. Your KiwiSaver is probably likely going to be, say, a 10, 15, 20, 30-year investment. So you're going to tell me that you're going to be, every month checking your Sharesies, going, I need to sell out of this stock, or, I need to buy this stock, or so, you're pretty much going to be giving yourself a full-time job if you're going to be doing that.
Sheesh.
And then you're going to be incurring all these brokerage costs. So I think, for investments, for contributions under $1,000, you're paying a 1% transaction fee. So, and a lot of the time, right, if you're going to be auto contributing your, $300 or $400 a week that you're putting into your KiwiSaver, into, your Sharesies account and then actioning a trade, then, you're incurring a 1% brokerage fee, which, obviously adds up. So another, like I was thinking about it, a good probably strategy, if you are going to be using, say, more of a DIY KiwiSaver self-select, is probably look at building up, say, your contributions into cash for 6 to 12 months, right? So you don't actually invest that money, it just sits in your Sharesies cash account, and then you just go and buy your securities once or twice a year, and that will obviously give you a better discount because the fees are a bit lower for when you're investing larger sums. But there's so much of this, so much admin, right?
Yeah.
So, and KiwiSaver is a long-term thing. So, it's also, if someone said to me, Adam, can you build me a house? I'd be like, of course not. Why would you not pay a professional fund manager who does it day in and day out and lives and breathes the stuff to look after that for you?
It seems like what was meant to be very simple is fast becoming something that could be very complicated
100%.
in the hands of the wrong people.
100%. And I do know of some investors that, have done this with the KiwiWrap KiwiSaver scheme and done more of a DIY solution through their wholesale channel that they have, and most of them have taken a big hit over the last 12 to 18 months, especially with those concentrated portfolios. Like, it's not uncommon to see some of those guys down 40 to 50%.
I guess a good thing for people to think about if they are going to cop the marketing around investing their own KiwiSaver would be to have a good look at your current investing account that you use, and ask yourself, am I doing any well?
Well, am I beating the benchmark of, say, an NZX 50 or, compare yourself against just an index fund? And most of the time, you're probably not. Like, a good stat is over the last 10 years, ending December 2022, only 40% of the individual constituents in the NZX 50 outperformed the NZX 50. So 60% of the individual stocks in that 50 underperformed the aggregate of the 50.
Sheesh.
So, and the NZX 50 as the aggregate obviously had the lowest level of risk from a volatility standpoint. Because you're diversifying. So, for most investors, that's probably going to be your best solution.
I wonder if we'll get into influencer investing. So you'll be able to log on and see what what their fund is in Sharesies or similar, and then just go, great, melt mine into the same sort of setup.
100%. Oh, who knows?
It's going to be interesting to see where it gets
TikTok. That's what, there's a bit of that going on TikTok at the moment, isn't there?
Oh, I've stayed off TikTok for a while.
Oh, you have? You banned yourself?
Yeah, I haven't. They've banned me.
Oh, they have?
No, I just haven't been on. But what's happening on TikTok?
Well, I've just seen
financial advice.
Just financial advice. Some pretty
put it all into
stuff.
this. Yeah, I see Tesla's ripping again by the rip.
By the rip?
Yeah, not
Kathy
the dip.
Wood. Yeah, what she reckons it's a $2,000 price point or something like that. Something like ridiculous.
I better go, mate.
That Cybertruck, when they start rolling that out, that might be the
moment.
That might be the moment they go boom.
I actually watched something with Elon, and he sort of said that they've got their AI moment to come. They still reckon they've got a chat GPT type moment in them. So, hey, look, not spruiking a stock or anything, but I'm buying it every week.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea that if, someone can create a solution like, say, a Tesla in, your towns of Ashburton or your smaller country towns where, they've got no taxis or Ubers, right? So, why don't they have robo-taxis but robo-Teslas? Like, if they can obviously...
So just come and pick you up.
They come and pick you up because, obviously in a small town, if you have a few beers at the pub on a Friday night and it's, 11 o'clock, you can't drive home, but there's no taxis, right? So...
That exists in different parts of the world. I've seen some videos on TikTok.
Oh, it does? Oh, there we go. Well, bring it to New Zealand. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of questions that aren't so KiwiSaver related and a little bit more personal. You know how you're a big fan of Warren Buffett and they call him the Oracle of Omaha?
Yes.
I've heard that you've made so many people wealthy in Ashburton that they've renamed it Cashburton.
Yeah, mate. 100%. 100%.
True story.
Give me another decade and that'll be the case. 100%.
Nice. And then the other thing that I heard is that on the dark web I was reading about you, and they reckon that you are often called the Tinder for KiwiSaver.
Yeah, I'm the matchmaking Tinder king.
Yeah. So these are all factual.
These are all factual statements. So if you complete our quiz at compoundwealth.co.nz/KiwiSaver, I will match you with the perfect KiwiSaver provider, and hopefully you'll fall in love.
Man, that is unhinged, that is. Right. Back to KiwiSaver, mate. What else can we see happening in this space? I guess if Sharesies get their self-select thing going really well and they make it easy, I'd imagine there'd be more and more people trying to do those things. And you probably would suspect that a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's buyer beware.
100%. Yeah, I think people would probably give it a go for 12 to 18 months and then go, nah. Yeah, and like at this stage as well with Sharesies, like the base funds where you can have 50% of your portfolio held. Like in my opinion, I don't think they've got a diverse enough amount of managers there. Like it's effectively just 3 managers with a conservative balance and a growth fund. There's no aggressive multi-sector option. So I think that could change in a couple of years as that product grows. But obviously going to start off pretty simple and grow it out. Yeah. But I do think buyer beware.
What else have you seen recently in the KiwiSaver space that you think's quite interesting or could be coming?
Well, yeah, like I think people probably are maybe a little bit scared of, say, switching KiwiSaver providers or switching KiwiSaver funds just because of obviously all the market noise. But if you look at, KiwiSaver funds performance year to date, so from 1st of January, they're up quite significantly, close to 6-7%. So in a growth or an aggressive strategy. So all that noise and people have missed the upturn. A really good example that I saw the other day was a KiwiSaver fund falls 30% over 12 months, and then the next 12 months say it picks up 30%. So obviously the share price or the unit price of the KiwiSaver fund after year 2 is 0. So it's made a 0% gain. However, if you contributed $1,000 a month every month over that 2 years, after that 2-year period, yes, the share your KiwiSaver price is 0, but the internal rate of return is close to say 17.5% because you're being dollar cost averaging throughout that 2 years. So I think what's important in this environment is investors don't look at, say, the total return of, say, how your KiwiSavers performed over the last, say, year or two. If you've been regularly contributing over the last couple of years, you've actually been making money because you've been dollar cost averaging. So, and that, could be, who knows, if we go into a recessionary environment over the next 2 or 3 years where share prices or, stay down, what people should be thinking is going, rubbing their hands together and going, well, it's a Briscoe sale on, right? Because eventually when this market comes back, my $200-300 a week or a month that I'm putting in via my contributions is actually buying these units at a lower price. So when that price comes up, you're going to get that upside effect. So I think that's just one thing that I see as a big opportunity at the moment. Like last year, we obviously had a terrible year in markets, but for me, that's an opportunity to go increase my KiwiSaver contributions, right? Yeah. Because they're down, but this last 6 months they've picked back up again. So that example, that 30% drop, 30% up, 30% down gradually over 12 months, 30% up over the next 12 months is a perfect example of what could happen. Last year and then this year, the market continued to go up, and for people that got spooked and oh no, I'll stop. Well, I won't decrease my contributions or whatever. They're missing out on that dollar cost averaging effect
because it's so tempting when your shares and KiwiSavers going backwards to think, right, I'm gonna just pause my contributions or stop putting money in, because it just feels like you're putting money in and then it's just going backwards and it hurts. But I've even noticed with Tesla recently, just as an example, where I would go into Sharesies and my investment would be down 30%. Yeah. But I did start dollar cost averaging back in, but now it's on the way back up as well, and it's balanced back out to I haven't lost or gained.
Yep, 100%. So it's like, how much volatility can you take? And when I talk to clients about like risk in KiwiSaver, it's the risk in KiwiSaver is more a volatility thing. So how much fluctuation can you handle? Is it 20, 30, 40, 50%? You know, if you bought Apple back in 2001 and you held that till today, you'd be a legend in my eyes, because you know, like the grind, you know, like the mental fortitude of holding that stock for 20 years, and you know, from all the highs and lows it's had, you'd be obviously a multi-millionaire if you invested, you know, a decent sum back in 2000. But you know, let's say, you know, you 10x your investment, and in 2010 you're going, oh look, I've got to cash out, like I made too much money here. Yeah. But if you'd held on to it for another decade, you know, you would have 10x'd again. So it's just one of those things. It's, you know, the mental fortitude of riding the volatility. The good thing about KiwiSaver is it's locked in. So, you know, and that's the beauty of it, is you can't get out, and that actually protects so many people from themselves. Yeah. That's why it's such a great investment, because it protects people from themselves. Because you can't tell me the discipline that, you know, if you contributed 10% to your retirement savings, but only 3% of that was in KiwiSaver, the other 7% you put it in a managed fund, or you invested in property, or some sort of other investment, but your investment time frame was 30 years. The discipline required to, you know, not spend that 7% once you amassed a certain amount of wealth is massive. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think KiwiSaver is great, and that goes back to that article. I think it was Janine Starks that you were talking about earlier on. It's like, you know, I thought she was a bit unfair in that article on certain aspects of KiwiSaver. Like, obviously there should be, you know, there's definitely improvements to be made. And that will happen, especially, you know, things like the annuity thing, contribution rates, you know, should probably come up. I think they should probably incentivize the government contributions to probably be a bit higher to get more self-employed people, you know, putting that money in, because there's still, I think, like 700,000 or 800,000 people in New Zealand that miss out on that free money every year. Really? So you know, that's obviously the government's probably doesn't mind paying that money out.
Doesn't mind that they don't have to,
but they get the clip anyway, because the money that goes in there, they're getting the tax on the at the prescribed investor rate. The KiwiSaver is a great earner for the government, and but we could keep talking about this forever.
But also on that, so prescribed investor rate capped out at 28%, right? So
massive tax, you know, tax advantage there, especially with, you know, potentially new increases in tax rules.
The higher income earners, yeah. How come so many people with KiwiSaver balances over 100 grand come to you?
Because they just want to personalize advice. That's now starting to, you know, get to a sum where they're going, oh, this is actually quite a decent asset for me. Yeah. And they want professional advice on, you know, what best strategy is.
Not just, they've got the cheapest fees.
You know, walk into, you know, ASB, ANZ, Westpac Bank and fill in a risk profile questionnaire and go, you know, oh, you go on that one. Yeah. You know, there's a bit more rhyme to our reason. We, you know, compare fees and everything. So, it's just a comprehensive report that they can make an educated decision on, you know, an appropriate solution for them.
All right, mate, 2 questions to finish. 1, what's the biggest KiwiSaver balance you've ever seen?
I think 2.3 mil.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big Kiwi.
Chloe Swarbrook would have a field day with that.
Yeah.
No, I actually don't know if that would be kept. That's very unfair of me. I need to be very kind. Okay. Secondly, if you could change one thing about KiwiSaver, what would it be? He is still here, people. He's thinking.
Good question. Look, I think contribution rates definitely need to, you know, that minimum contribution rate could be 4%. Most people actually deal with contributing more than, 3%. So a lot of people are 4, 6, 8 or 10. Obviously in Australia it's 10. And, you know, the superannuation industry is just massive. But probably make it compulsory. Make it compulsory for over 18s. That would be my number one.
Yeah, okay, compulsory. A lot of people wouldn't like that, but I'm with you on that because, you know, we can say that it's not a great setup, et cetera, but we're not very good savers in New Zealand. There's been a recent doco about people in their 65s where they don't have any form of income apart from the pension, and it's tough to get by on that. And that should be the wake-up call for a lot of us younger people of, hey, we've got empathy and sympathy there, but we need to think about avoiding that. What am I not doing that I could be doing? And maybe we do need to make it compulsory for some people to get them on that path. And we just have to look across the ditch, and they do that in Australia, and they make it a very big percentage.
100%. Free money on offer as well, the 1,043.
At least take that. So it's 521-ish because you put 1,043
1,042.86, 521.43 is the top up from the government.
Yeah.
But the future value of that $521.43 to, say, a 25-year-old invested at 7.5% per annum for 40 years is something close to like 10 grand. So if you that 521, a 25-year-old got that 521 would grow to over 40 years at a 7.5% return, close to 10 grand, I think it was,
really?
Around the numbers.
Wow.
So every year that, a 25-year-old
misses that,
they're effectively missing out on the future value of 10 grand.
Shit.
Obviously that number gets smaller and smaller as, they get older.
Yeah. But where else can you get a 50% gain?
Well, it's not just 50%. The future value of that money is massive.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's an insurance policy. So people, I'm like telling 23-year-olds, just put a little bit more money in your KiwiSaver, and when you're 50 and your insurance premiums are costing you $1,000 a month, you don't have to pay your insurance premiums because your KiwiSaver balance has got $1 million in it. That's your life insurance.
Sweet.
So it's it's a self-insurance model as well. And if you die before 65, then that goes to your estate. So
what about advice to those people that are just like, nah, I can just do it myself. Why don't I just set it up myself?
Awesome. Get this all the time. Met someone last night that said that to me, and I said, so what about the other 97% of your money? All you're doing is putting away 3%. So you've still got 97% of your money that you can play with. You're just effectively putting away 3 that at minimum contribution. That if you look at the average aggressive KiwiSaver strategy over the last 10 years, I think it's 8.6% per annum.
And the employer's kicking in as well, so you're getting a 100%
so
gain
you're getting the employer contributions plus you're getting the money from the government. So, I just don't understand that argument. It's only 3 or 4% of your income. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got 97% to go and invest in crypto if you want to.
If you're going to do that, write it down now, excuse me, and say that that's your strategy. And then when you turn 65 or get into those years, make sure when you look in the mirror, you're like, I fucked that up. No complaining. No I'll go on the TV and cry about how I don't have the cash or whatever. When you get there, it's done. You made the decision back here.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Brutal.
And compare your KiwiSaver return to maybe your other investments, if that's easy enough to do. But when we've had 16 years of performance data now, so we're starting to see some historical trends for conservative, balanced growth, aggressive. Not that they're going to be the same over the next 10 years, but a 10% per annum compounding return is a net of fees is a pretty good return.
Life changing.
100%.
Yeah. Well, Adam, as always, thank you, mate. If people want to find you, they can look up Compound Wealth, compoundwealth.co.nz to get started. You're on Instagram. Sounds like you've been playing on TikTok too. Might just be in a personal capacity. And if you need to find them quickly, Google the Tinder of KiwiSaver or Adam from Cash Burden. No, you might not find them that way. But if people want to go through your fact find, which I know a lot of people have as well, and they may just do it to learn more, where do they find that? compoundwealth.co.nz/KiwiSaver. Complete our quiz, and then we'll try and get a report to you as soon as possible. Thank you, mate. I'm sure we will do this very soon in a part 2.
Thank you.